let's read one more story from Jesus' childhood. It jumps ahead a few years, but this is the only story about Jesus in our four Gospels where he's not either a little baby or an adult. So it's a good story to read for today as we get a quick snapshot of something that happened when he was only 12 years old. So here's a reading from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 2, verses 41 to 52. Hear now the word of the Lord. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival according to the custom. After the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware of it. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. May God bless the reading of this holy word today. So back then, all religious Jews followed the Old Testament's requirements to travel to Jerusalem every year for the big Passover festival. It was a huge festival attended by tons and tons of people from all over. It lasted like 8 days long with all kinds of worship services, animal sacrifices, meals shared together with friends and family. So that is what Mary and Joseph and Jesus have gone to in our story. And people who would travel there from a great distance usually traveled in a caravan along with other folks from their town, neighbors, friends, family members. They were all going to the same place, so they might as well travel together for safety, for support, to help each other along the way. Since I myself recently went on a really long walk hike, I was interested in some of the details about their journey to Jerusalem. So apparently the distance was about 70 miles from their home in Nazareth to Jerusalem. They would have had a lot of daylight there in that time of year, at least 13 hours of daylight, so plenty of time to walk and travel. But they would have been in a big group with everyone from young kids to senior adults, so they wouldn't have gone very fast. Probably 2 miles an hour at best, with lots of breaks to rest, to go to the bathroom. So maybe they would have traveled up to 20 miles each day if they kept pushing. So it would have been like a 4-day journey just to get there, a big deal. And here's the kicker. It was uphill both ways, literally, because when they left Nazareth, they would have gone down 2,000 feet into the Jordan Valley, and hiking downhill when you're lugging a lot of stuff is hard on the knees. But then the last day, they would have to go back up 3,500 feet to get into Jerusalem. For a little perspective, that last leg up would be like walking all the way up Mount Mitchell, with all of your friends and family and neighbors and food and possessions with you. So, wow. When I did my big walk across Scotland, I only had about 3 days that were that steep, and they were brutal. I don't know if you've ever lugged a pack up 3,500 feet, but you just keep walking up and up and up, and it never, ever stops, and you think you'll never, ever get to the top. You try to cheer yourself on, encourage yourself, while at the same time you're cursing that dumb mountain for being so steep. You're saying, gonna make it, gonna make it, gonna make it. Golly Moses, geez Louise, this is steep. You say all the things to push yourself up. So keep that in mind when you think about the fact that Mary and Joseph had to make that last hard leg of travel back again to find their son. They were worried about him, probably mad at him like all parents would get, and also just really tired of walking back up to Jerusalem. As a dad, I am sure that Joseph was grumbling the whole way back. I don't care if he is the Messiah. He is so grounded when we get back home, making me walk up this dumb hill again. All the words. But indeed, after everyone else left to go home, Jesus stayed behind. And of course, we today would all think, well, how could his parents let that happen? Just leave town without their son? Well, there's a few reasons. First, based on what he says at the end of the story, we can tell that he sounds really mature for his age. Not many 12-year-olds talk like that. So Mary and Joseph probably didn't worry about him as much as other parents did. And being in a village community that was traveling together with all of their neighbors and family, they were also comfortable with him not being in their sight all the time. He probably had that kind of free-range childhood that some of us might have had, where you're never too far away from somebody who knew you and would tell your parents if you got into trouble. You know, there was always extra moms and grandparents watching you. And in a big caravan of traveling families back then, the men walked in a group together and the women walked in a group together. So Mary and Joseph wouldn't have been walking next to each other. And they probably thought, I'm sure Jesus is here somewhere. We do this every year. And we told him when we were leaving. But when the caravan gets to their stop for the night and all the families come back together, that's when they realize, I thought he was with you. I thought he was with you. But no. So they'll have to head back. It would have been too late then at the end of the day, so they would have set out the next morning, backtracking the whole day of travel, 3,500 feet. Ugh. But what about Jesus? Well, even though he wasn't misbehaving or actively doing anything bad, he's still just 12 years old, so he didn't have the wherewithal yet to think, maybe I should tell my parents where I am, just so they don't worry. That's a good idea. Like he says later, everything he did made perfect sense to him. Maybe back home, he spent a lot of time in the local synagogue there, chatting with the elders. Maybe it was a normal thing for him to do. So he thinks, well, why would my parents even have to look for me? Shouldn't they know? Well, sometimes 12-year-olds and parents think differently than each other. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yes. And parents worry when they don't know where their kids are. So when they find Jesus in the temple courts, it said that Mary and Joseph were astonished. They were shocked. Mary says, Son, why have you treated us like this? We've been searching for you anxiously. And that's an interesting way of putting it. Yes, Jesus stayed behind and didn't tell his parents, but he did have a good reason. And maybe by the time the caravan had left, it would have been, and he realized, oh no, I missed it. It might have been unsafe for him to make the journey by himself, so he decided to just stay put, which would have been the right decision. I remember one time as a kid, I got separated from my parents when we were at the Opryland Amusement Park in Nashville, and I was maybe 9 years old at the time. There was a miscommunication of where to meet when, and I was really scared, and it was late at night, and the park was closing, and everyone was leaving. So I figured, I will stand here at this crossroads and just watch everybody. Since they're looking for me, I shouldn't be moving around. I'll stay in this high traffic area and wait for them to come by. And they did, eventually. So maybe that was Jesus's idea. He realized, oops, I missed the caravan. They'll be looking for me. I'll stay here in the temple courts. They know that's what I like to do back home because I'm a church nerd. They'll know just where to look for me. It all makes perfect sense. Maybe that was his idea. It's not like he had a watch at the time to check and go, oh, we're supposed to meet at 7:30. And there were no smartphones to remind you to be somewhere in 1 hour. If I didn't have a 1 hour reminder on my calendar, I would never be anywhere I was supposed to be. So maybe Jesus was just innocently in his Father's house, the temple, the church, like he did back home, and he lost track of time. He's 12 years old. But Mary treats it like a personal attack. Why have you treated us this way? Well, Mary, it's not about you. He wasn't treating you like this or that. He was just doing his Jesus thing. Should he have let them know where he was or kept track of time better? Yes. Is he also a 12-year-old boy? Yes. But it's not like he was treating them badly. His focus was elsewhere, which is different. Why have you treated us like this? She said. She's thinking in the wrong direction. It's not about her, which Jesus explains in his answer. Shouldn't they have known where he would be? Doing his Jesus thing? So why are they surprised? It's kind of like if you get a new puppy and the new puppy pees on your carpet. Don't be surprised because it's a puppy. Don't say, why have you treated us like this, Fido? It's not about you. And Jesus is only 12 after all. Maybe they should have kept a better eye on him. They're probably feeling guilty about that. I can't believe we lost the Son of God. Oh, no. That's the worst one to lose of all the kids. And when we feel guilty about something, we tend to lash out at other people, try to shift some of that blame off of us. Still, Jesus should have given them a heads up out of courtesy and asking them, why were you looking for me? Shows that he was surprised at their behavior and surprised at their feelings. Being just 12, he hasn't quite yet learned that parents freak out when they can't find their kids. Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house? No, sweetie, we didn't. We expected you to leave with the group like we do every year. That's what we expected. At the end of the story, the three of them travel back home down to Nazareth and then up again. And it said that Jesus was obedient to them, which is pretty impressive for a 12-year-old boy. He was obedient to his parents. Wow, good on him. But he is really mature for his age. So maybe on the long 4-day walk of shame journey back home, they had a helpful chat after Joseph calmed down a little bit. Probably took him 2 days at least to calm down. They chatted about some good ground rules. And maybe they said, okay, son, we respect that you want to spend time talking with the elders, and that's okay. We support that. But you have to tell us where you're going to be and for how long, because we worry about you. Okay? Okay. Good. I'm glad we got that sorted. So what I love about this story is that everybody in it is learning. Jesus, while divine, is also human and only 12 years old. He's already doing the Lord's work, but he's also still learning how to be mindful of other people, how to be thoughtful and aware of their feelings. Like we said, he wasn't misbehaving or doing anything bad, but he did give his parents quite a fright. So that's a good thing to learn. He loves his parents, and he wouldn't want them to be worried, especially if there was a really easy fix, like giving them a simple heads up. That happens in many relationships. Most spouses don't try to upset their partner, but do married partners sometimes get upset with each other? I've heard that they do. My wife tells me that they do. So even though spouses love each other and don't intentionally hurt each other's feelings, it still happens. Humans are like that. Sometimes the person who did something really should have been more aware of how the other person would feel. Other times, the person who gets upset maybe didn't have to take it so personally. And this story is a bit of both. Jesus is learning how other people react in ways that he didn't expect. Shouldn't you know I'd have been in my father's house? You didn't? Oh, you didn't know? Oh, okay. And Mary is learning that not everything is about her, so she doesn't need to take it personally. Why have you treated us like this? Well, there are other things going on. So they're both learning. Jesus is learning because he's still only 12, and Mary is learning because she's a parent, and you are never not learning as a parent. By the time you have mastered one stage of your kid's development, they've already moved on to the next stage, and you're already behind again. So you're always learning, and that's how it should be. We all should always be learning because none of us has figured out everything yet. So if you're not still learning, then you've stalled out. You've stagnated, you're stuck. So don't do that. Follow Jesus' example and keep growing. Keep learning new things so that you too can grow in wisdom. Keep helping other people so that you too can grow in favor with God and everyone. As an example of how to do that and how to grow, let's look at Mary at the end of our story. Verse 51 said that she saved and even treasured all these things in her heart. Treasured. What an interesting thing for her to do after such a scary, angry kind of story of parenting. And yet she treasured all those things in her heart, just like it said she did in Luke 2:19 after the shepherds left when Jesus was born. She pondered those things too in her heart. She's got a lot to think about. So she is intentionally working on it, pondering it, treasuring it all. Being in families, being a parent, a child, being in relationships with other people as part of a community, it all takes work. To be both true to yourself, but also loving to others. Falling too far on one side or the other isn't good. If you never care about how other people feel, then you're just a jerk. But if you only care about what other people are thinking and you never care for yourself, then you've become a doormat and not a real person. Neither extreme is healthy. But it is okay to move back and forth a little bit on that spectrum. Like some weekends, you can spend the whole time helping someone do or fix something that they need help with, like spending a whole weekend doing good disaster relief work. Other weekends, you should get rest so that you don't wear yourself out. Back and forth. Like Jesus, when he was an adult, it's not like his priority was making sure that nobody ever got upset with him, right? But he wasn't self-centered. He just knew when he needed to rest, to spend some time alone. He did that regularly. But he also knew when he could serve others and give of himself and show up and heal and teach. Back and forth. And so should we, as we figure out what we and other people need. As we learn how to be in relationship with the people around us. That's what we're all supposed to do, especially if we aim to be Jesus followers. It's said that he grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man, so we should too. It didn't mean people never got upset with him or that he never needed some quiet time alone, because they did, and he did. But everything that he did for himself and for others was done out of love and for a higher purpose. So as we make decisions about how to treat other people and ourselves, we should always follow Jesus's good example to never stop learning and never stop growing. Let us pray. Oh God, we confess that we are not perfect, and we therefore make mistakes in relationship, even to people we care about and we love. We recognize that we have not been thoughtful enough about those we love and those who love us. Sometimes, though, we also confess that we are too self-centered. So we will need your guidance, O God, to find the flexibility in that sweet spot of love, to serve others and ourselves. Help us to follow the example of your Son, as he was always learning, always serving, always doing what he needed to do. May we do so as well, and for the higher purpose of building your eternal kingdom. Amen.